You know that moment. The one where the conversation is weirdly calm. Too calm. They're sitting right there in front of you. Maybe looking at the floor. Maybe speaking in that flat voice that almost sounds kind. And somehow that makes it worse. You're waiting for emotion, for hesitation, for something. But all you get is distance, clean words, cold clarity. A goodbye that feels like it was decided long before this moment ever arrived. And inside, your mind is racing. Was any of it real? How can they be this detached? Why do they look relieved when I feel destroyed? Are they really done? Or are they just overwhelmed? Will they come back? Here's the truth most people miss. A dismissive avoidant doesn't always leave because they stopped feeling. A lot of the time, they leave because feeling became too overwhelming to stay. You're not crazy for being confused. You're not weak for still hoping. And this is not proof that you imagined the connection. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why a dismissive avoidant's final goodbye often starts long before the breakup, what is actually happening beneath the surface when they pull away, and whether coming back even means what you hope it means. Let's get into it. Most couples believe breakups happen when love is gone. But the real truth is, a lot of breakups happen when emotional safety is gone. When two nervous systems stop feeling like they can stay connected without losing themselves. And that matters here. Because with dismissive avoidance, what looks cold on the outside is often a protection pattern beneath the surface. Not always, not in every case, but often. Their nervous system learned early that too much need, too much closeness, too much emotional dependency can feel like pressure, obligation, or even danger. So when intimacy gets deeper, when conflict lingers, when expectations rise, their system doesn't read that as love getting stronger. It often reads it as freedom getting smaller. That's why trying harder can sometimes make them more withdrawn. That's why asking for reassurance can accidentally trigger more distance. That's why silence, shutdown, and emotional drift can happen even when feelings are still there. Most people think the question is, did they care enough? But here's the better question. Did they have the capacity to stay present inside the kind of closeness this relationship required? Because love and capacity are not the same thing. And when you understand that, everything starts to make more sense. 1. The goodbye usually starts before the goodbye. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples think the breakup starts with the final conversation, the final fight, or the final text. But with a dismissive avoidant, the real goodbye often begins much earlier, in the quiet accumulation of unspoken pressure, unrepaired tension, and emotional moments they never fully knew how to metabolize. That's the deeper truth. What you experience as sudden is often something their nervous system has been preparing for in silence. They may still be showing up, still texting, still acting normal in pieces. But beneath the surface, they're becoming more emotionally withdrawn because closeness has started to feel costly. I can't keep doing this is often forming internally long before they ever say it out loud. You see it in real life like this. Disconnecting version. You say, "You felt off for weeks. Just tell me what's wrong." And they say, "Nothing. I'm fine. You're overthinking." Connecting version. You say, "You felt far. I'm not trying to corner you. I just want to understand what's been heavy for you lately." And they say, "I don't fully know yet, but I know I've been shutting down." That one shift matters, because naming distance early can sometimes interrupt the drift before it hardens into a wall. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like it's being abandoned in secret. 2. Relief doesn't mean they didn't love you. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most people in relationships see a dismissive avoidant look calm, composed, or even relieved after the breakup, and assume that means the connection meant less to them. But relief after leaving is not always emotional emptiness. Sometimes it is just temporary nervous system decompression. Not indifference. Not cruelty. Not proof you meant nothing. But a body that finally feels out of pressure. That's what makes this so painful. While you are registering loss, their system may be registering space. While you're thinking, how are they okay already? Something in them may be saying, I can breathe again. And honestly, that doesn't mean they didn't care. It means closeness had become fused with stress, expectation, conflict, or emotional overload. You see the contrast here. Disconnecting version. You say, if you're relieved, then obviously you never loved me. And they shut down even more. Connecting version. You say, I can tell part of you feels relief right now, and I'm not pretending that doesn't hurt. But I also get that this relationship may have felt overwhelming for you. That response doesn't erase pain. It clarifies reality. And when you understand relief correctly, you stop making their shutdown mean you were never real to them. 3. They don't leave because they feel nothing. They leave because they feel too much alone. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples assume avoidant partners leave because they don't have deep emotional needs. But the real truth is usually more complicated. They often have needs they learned not to trust, feelings they learned not to depend on, and longing they learned to manage privately. That's the attachment wound. A dismissive avoidant often survives by minimizing need, by becoming self-contained, by telling themselves, I'm good, I don't need much. But when real intimacy starts asking for mutual presence, repair, vulnerability, and emotional availability, the old pattern activates, and their nervous system treats dependence like a threat to identity. If I need you, I can be hurt by you. So they disconnect before the bond feels powerful enough to undo them. You can hear it in the language. Disconnecting version, you say, why can't you just open up like a normal partner? They hear, who you are is the problem. Connecting version, you say, I know closeness doesn't always feel simple for you. I'm not asking you to become a different person. I'm asking if there's a way we can make this feel safer for both of us. And here's what changes everything. When someone feels seen, without being cornered, their walls don't always disappear overnight, but they stop having to defend them so hard. 4. Their final goodbye is often an attempt to regain control. But here's what nobody explains. Most people in relationships think the final goodbye is only about losing love, losing attraction, or choosing someone else. Sometimes it is. But many times, especially with dismissive patterns, the goodbye is also an attempt to regain internal control after a long stretch of emotional dysregulation. Their system is like a smoke detector. It cannot always tell the difference between intimacy and engulfment, between closeness and pressure, between conflict and danger. So, after enough unresolved tension, the relationship stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like something they have to escape to stabilize themselves. And that's why the exit can sound so absolute. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. This just isn't right. Sometimes those words are clarity. Sometimes they are panic translated into certainty. Look at the difference. Disconnecting version. After a tense week, you say, "So that's it. You're just running again." Connecting version. You say, "If leaving is the only way your system knows how to get peace right now, I understand why you'd reach for it. But I also want to be honest that leaving instead of repairing creates pain too." That kind of truth is real. And when you speak from grounded presence instead of protest, you stop feeding the very cycle that keeps love and safety from finding each other again. 5. Yes, they might come back, but that is not the same as being ready. Here's the part your heart needs and may not want. Most couples treat a return like a resolution, a text months later, a late night, "I miss you," a soft re-entry, a little more warmth, a little more vulnerability, and suddenly hope floods back in. But coming back is not the same thing as coming back differently. That distinction will save you. Because dismissive avoidants often do feel the loss later, once the pressure drops, once the distance is created, once the nervous system settles, the attachment bond can become more visible to them. That is when the thought appears, "Maybe I made a mistake," or "Maybe it wasn't that bad," or even, "I miss what we had." But missing you is not yet the same as building capacity for connection, repair, and emotional consistency. You can hear the difference fast. Disconnecting version. "I miss you. Can we just start over and not talk about the heavy stuff?" Connecting version. "I miss you, and I've been thinking about the part I played in how I shut down. If we talk again, I don't want to repeat the same cycles." Not breadcrumbs, not nostalgia, not chemistry by itself, but accountability, reflection, and real repair. That's the shift. And when you learn to measure readiness instead of longing, you stop confusing a reopened door with a changed relationship. 6. The real question is not, will they come back? It's, what would they be coming back as? And this is the one that can change your whole life. Most people in relationships get trapped inside the wrong question after an avoidant breakup. They obsess over timing, signs, tarot-level decoding of stories, likes, silence, and random texts. But the deeper question is not whether the person returns, it is whether the pattern returns. Because patterns are the relationship. Not the chemistry, not the history, not the potential, not more texting, not one emotional conversation, not a weekend that feels magical again, but two people who can stay emotionally present when things get uncomfortable. That is what makes a relationship real. So instead of asking, will they come back? Ask this: can they name what happened? Can they tolerate closeness without going numb? Can they stay in repair instead of retreating into distance? Can you stay grounded without overfunctioning just to keep connection alive? Here's what that sounds like. Disconnecting version. I just want things to feel easy again. Connecting version. Easy is not enough. I want something honest, something we can both actually hold. And here's what changes everything. When you stop chasing the person and start evaluating the pattern, your nervous system begins to come home to itself. 7. Your healing starts the moment you stop auditioning for someone's capacity. Here's the final truth. Most couples stay emotionally stuck after an avoidant goodbye because they keep trying to prove they were lovable enough, patient enough, understanding enough, calm enough, low maintenance enough to be chosen. But your job was never to shrink your needs down to a size someone else could tolerate. That is not connection. That is self-abandonment dressed up as devotion. And honestly, this is where so many people drift away from themselves. You become hyper-attuned to their moods, their distance, their mixed signals, their possible return. Meanwhile, your own longing goes unheld. Your own grief goes unanswered. Your own inner voice starts whispering, "If I were easier to love, they would have stayed." But that thought is not truth. It is pain looking for a reason. Here's the contrast. Disconnecting version. Maybe if I stop bringing up my needs, they'll feel safe enough to come back. Connecting version. I can be compassionate about their patterns without abandoning what I need to feel emotionally safe, met, and real in love. This isn't a communication hack. This is just what two emotionally mature people eventually learn. Compassion for someone else's wound does not require betrayal of your own. And when you finally live that, the relationship stops being a courtroom where you defend your worth and starts becoming a place where love either meets you fully or it doesn't. So if you're sitting with that question right now, why did they leave and will they come back? I want you to hear this clearly. Their leaving does not automatically mean they never loved you. And their return would not automatically mean they are ready to love you better. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to see people more clearly, to see patterns more honestly, and to stop calling emotional unavailability potential just because the connection felt intense. When you internalize this, you stop reacting from panic and start responding from self-respect. You become someone who can hold nuance without losing yourself inside it. And that changes everything about the kind of love you will accept, create, and keep. Because these are not just tips for surviving an avoidant breakup. They are the beginning of becoming the kind of partner who values connection, safety, presence, and truth equally. And here's the mic drop truth. Real love is not proven by who comes back. It's proven by who can stay, repair, and remain emotionally present when leaving would be easier.